Hello and welcome to episode 107 of On My Studio Table. It's rather a wintry day here in Tasmania. I know that some of you in the Northern Hemisphere have been experiencing a heat wave, so I hope you're keeping cool and comfortable and not overdoing things. We're huddled up near the fire a lot of the time at the moment. We've had some really big frosts and ice. We've also had a lot of rain. The weather forecast was for a deluge of rain across most of Australia, and Tasmania also didn't escape. So there is flooding in some areas, including between here and our nearest city, which is Launceston. Fortunately, not across the roads at the moment, but if we get more rain, which is forecast, that could happen. As you know, I've been really getting into jelly printing using earth pigments, and I have an affiliation now with Natural Earth Paints, which is a really lovely product that I'm so enjoying using and experimenting with. They have, since the last video, invited me to write a blog post for them. So I have written this and selected some photographs, and I'm just waiting to hear back about the next step. I'll share the link for that with you as soon as I know what it is. I really did enjoy writing it. It's actually the backstory of how I got into jelly printing and looking for natural ways to develop my arts practice. I've also spent some time writing a new tutorial and producing it on video. This is partly because one of my followers, I think on Facebook or possibly on YouTube, asked me if I was doing a tutorial about making an accordion book. I had made 2 of them as a series called Icarus, and since then I have now made a 3rd one, and that's the subject of the tutorial. So I'll share a little bit about that a bit later in the video. I've also been rethinking my Gone Rustic VIP membership, as I mentioned in the last video, and I have had some thoughts about that, so I'll share them with the group first and then I'll share them here, possibly in the next video. However, you can support me through Ko-fi, either on a monthly basis or a one-off payment, and that entitles you to discounts on all the workshops, and also I do extra things for my supporters on Ko-fi and Gone Rustic VIPs that the general public doesn't get. But I do appreciate your support, and I just thank you from the bottom of my heart. One of the things that I really enjoy doing is working with tea bags, rust and eco-printed cloth. This is a remnant from a piece that I cut for one of my VIPs a couple of weeks ago, and I think it will be just enough to make 2 little books, one with these as pages and one with some of these as pages. I used a method that Catherine Chambers showed us either earlier this year or late last year. Her channel is called K3N Cloth Tales. And what she recommended we try was to sit a tea bag on a rusty item on a piece of cloth, and we get a lovely mark from the rusty piece. In this case, it's a washer. And the lovely thing is, of course, that the tea bags also sometimes get marked. For example, you can see something there, possibly that was a rusty bottle cap. I used 2 types of tea bags. These are normal black tea, and these were Earl Grey, and I found that the Earl Grey tea made the best marks. So that's something to remember for the future. And on Facebook, somebody put in the comments that Irish breakfast tea works really well too. So I'm not really sure why they work extra well, but they did for me anyway, the Earl Grey tea bags. So I'm going to make 2 little books out of them. I have made something like this before. The last time I did this project, I used a type of Osnaburg, the cotton version, not the linen version. And I used them as pages in one of the books. So that might go like that. And then with the leftover piece, which is this piece, I might have enough to do a tea bag kind of book. So we'll just see what happens. I had hoped to get them done this week, but I didn't have time. I had other things happening. So next week, hopefully I'll share you the finished books, and they will also be for sale on my online shop at gonerustic.com. Last week I shared that sometimes it's hard to cut up your artwork and make something else out of it. And I had some jelly prints that I thought might be good for collage, but it took me a while to actually get the courage to cut them up and make them into something new. And I'm so glad I did, because the possibilities are endless. This is the one that I started doing that I shared with you last time, and it's now finished. And I used 3 of my jelly prints to do 3 collages on this side of the book, and then 3 collages on that side of the book. I also wrote some poetry especially for this series. I've called it Icarus, and it's about a Greek myth where a young man flew too close to the sun with some wings that his father had made. He must have just enjoyed the flying too much, and I can guess that that would be something that would be very tempting, and it would be hard to think about being careful. So that's the story. This is the story from the son's point of view, and this is the story from the father's point of view, who actually saw it happen. So it was quite difficult for him. So I've used brighter jelly prints for this one, representing the experience with the son and so on, and then darker ones for the father. And I know this can be a difficult subject to talk about, and I hope it doesn't cause unpleasant memories for you, but we do experience loss and grief in our lives. We also experience joy, and that seems to be the cycle that we all experience in different times and ways. So sometimes it's really good to be able to express them through your art, and that's what I find with the art that I make. So the poem expresses the story, my response to the story, but also in an indirect way my experience with loss and grief, and also joy, of course. I decided I would write a tutorial, as I said, because someone asked me if I would do that or had done it. And I made a new accordion book for that tutorial. And I demonstrate the whole thing, including selecting your artwork, cutting it up, doing the collage, how to do the stitching, and so on. And I really enjoyed putting it together, and I really hope that some of you will enjoy actually doing the tutorial. I wrote a poem especially for this one as well. This one I've called When Dusk Falls, because the colours reminded me of evening or dusk, and that can be a really beautiful time of the day. The tutorial will become live as soon as this video is finished. If you're interested in having a go at this, it's probably really something that's suitable for people who have not done a lot of collage before or stitching. It's a very simple project. But if you have artwork that you haven't been happy with, I found that by cutting it up, you actually look at it totally differently. For example, I really like this square now. It reminds me of clouds and an evening with a purple sky and the ground here. And it just is amazing what a difference it makes when you do cut it up. And then if you use contrasting pieces to make the embellishments. And of course, I always enjoy stitching, so stitching usually appears in my work. I have other tutorials also. I have links to them below the video where it says more. You can't really access it on a TV, but you can on a device such as a phone or an iPad or on your computer. I've designed them to be evergreen, low budget, and they include step-by-step processes, a materials list, and lots of examples to inspire you. This is the block I made for my square for the word zephyr, which was a few weeks ago now in Words 2026. Last week I shared that I had put this piece of organza ribbon, which was from a gift that was given to me some time ago, and that I'd folded and pleated it and so on across the block. And I had already done the French knots, and I've now added some detached chain and a couched piece of yarn. The yarn has a little bit of glitter in it. I don't know if it comes up on the screen, but I like the fact that it just had this subtle shine to it. And then I've stitched it down with some pink pearl cotton. I'm trying to reflect the colours that are in this. For example, I used a pale aqua here, so I decided to use a stronger aqua here, just so that they would tie together. And the little greyish green knots are a different thread to these, but they follow that theme of these soft greens here. I might also add some white pearl cotton or cream pearl cotton to some of the rest of it, and maybe a little bit more pink. I've done some pink here, but there isn't much else there, so I might do a little bit more pink. The word, as I do each time with these blocks, is a running stitch, and then I weave the same thread through the running stitch, and that's called a whipped running stitch, and it makes the word really stand out. I just draw them freehand with pencil directly onto the cloth. Our last word for Words 2026 was strata, and that was quite a bit more straightforward than some of the words that I've drawn out. It's interesting in the group because a lot of us did this kind of idea with layers and different kinds of stitching and different kinds of fabric, but no two are the same. It's just so lovely to see the variations that there are, even with the one word and similar techniques. And everyone, of course, has worked to their level of skill as well, and according to how they were inspired to do this. It's just fascinating to see what possibilities there are from just a single word. I've used a variety of fabrics here. I've used linen, silk, cotton, and a little bit of wool. This is wool here. I've also used things like the hem of a shirt that I'd eco-dyed that I cut up to use for fabric, and you can still see the stitching there. And this is a seam, I think. It's got the kind of blanket stitch edging that you see inside a shirt or other item of clothing. And I've left that on there too to add texture. The stitches I've used are fairly simple. I've used running stitch, straight stitch. This is a type of blanket stitch that I've made to look a bit like shells. That's fly stitch. This is just cross stitch with a running stitch over the top, and feather stitch and chain stitch. So it's a little bit like a stitch sampler, I think. I really enjoyed making it. Let's find out what the new word for this week is. This is week 27, so we're now into the second half of the year, and well done if you've made it this far. Also to some of our new members who started at the beginning and have caught up or are in the process of catching up. So I'll pull out the word and we'll just see what we've got for this week. The pile is getting less, I can feel it. Now this is one that might be a little bit difficult to express in a visual sense, because this is to do with the sense of smell, aroma. But of course we can think about the things that do have a scent. For example, beautiful perfume has a lovely scent. And just recently there's been something blooming in our area that we don't recognise, but it was very, very sweet when we went outside yesterday morning. those things are often memory triggers too. Quite often a scent or an aroma will trigger a memory. So it could be that you will depict something that you remember that an aroma reminds you of. Of course, there are unpleasant smells too. I'm not necessarily recommending that you express that in your square, but we like to think of pleasant smells. It could be the smell of cooking, for example. That can make a home feel very cozy and comfortable and inviting, can't it? Or if you're going out for a meal and you're greeted by a beautiful aroma of lovely food. So just different things, even wine. Some people are very good at inhaling the aroma of a good glass of wine or other alcoholic drink and being able to assess what the ingredients are in that particular drink. And some people, of course, earn a living doing that, also with wine tasting. So there are a few different ways you can look at this, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what squares are listed in our online group. The group is called Intuitive Stitching / Words 2026. We still have people joining. We have a lot of members. I know that some members are not taking part in the actual challenge, but I hope that you will find inspiration there and that you will share some of your other stitching that you do for us to enjoy also.